Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Boss Fight Studios Vitruvian H.A.C.K.S Series 2. This is Felonius, the Wandering Mage. So just before we have a look at the figure, I want to show you the packaging, and much like the Orc Conqueror that we looked at in the previous video, what Boss Fight Studios have done with their packaging is that they've made it just folded over tabs or folded over flaps. So if you ever want to take them out of packaging, you don't have to cut anything. Simply just slide the cardboard completely out, and then you can get access to the figure. And when you're ready to put it back, you just simply, reverse the steps, and then you can just slide this back through the tracks. Again, I mentioned this in the previous video. I wish more companies would do this. Certainly companies that are gearing themselves, like Boss Fight, towards the collectors. It makes storing these and keeping the packaging pristine all the more better. Because again, you can just take the figure out and put it back, and you don't have to worry about damaging this really cool packaging. So how tall is Felonius? Well, let's put the tape measure next to him. He is roughly about 4 1/4 inches in height. And much like the Ogre Conqueror that we looked at in the previous video, Felonius comes with a ton of accessories. Why don't we start first by having a look at the display base that comes included with the figure, which is the same display base that we got with the Ogre Conqueror. It's got some really nice design elements to it. I really like that logo. That would be nice on a t-shirt. Here I am talking about t-shirts again. The figure stands perfectly fine on his own, but for the fact that they all come with these display bases, I always like to keep them distinct, or I guess similar to one another. Make them distinct, obviously, with the customization that you're about to do with them, but you can make them all similar, and they all have the same display base. Before we get to the meat and potatoes of it all, of having a look at all the accessories and all the ways that you can mix and match him, let's have a look at the figure itself. It's got some really nice design elements, which is something I mentioned in the previous video. Some really nice design elements not only to the sculpt of the face, but the fact in this instance, Felonius also comes with a real fabric robe, which is a nice touch. His face sculpt is pretty good, actually, and he comes with the way to display him with the hood. I'll show you that in a second. I really like the head sculpt. I like the long hair on him as well. Very cool is his belt, I have to admit. I can only imagine some of the stuff that's actually housed in that belt. Looks like several different pouches of things, maybe powders, some maps. And he's got a little pocket on the side, and he's got a hole on the back as well as a loop. What's that for? We'll get into that in a second. Move the robe away, and he's got himself a pair of almost tanned colored pants, leading themselves down to a pair of brown boots with the peg holes on the undersides of the feet. So there's Felonius. So again, he comes with lots of different things that you can do with the figure itself, one of which being he does come with the hood, a hood that you can display him with. You obviously can't really get the hood on his head all that well, so the easiest thing to do is take the head out of the neck. Just going to leave the headless body right there, and feed the head through the hood, because it is a softer plastic after all. And then once you've got everything in place, hair's tucked far enough back, then you can go ahead and revisit the head, bringing the ball joint a little further back and attaching it once again to the neck. He loses a little bit in the way of posability then, because you can't really get to the head all that much, but it does finish the figure rather nicely. It almost makes for a somewhat seamless motion of sculpt from the top of the hood all the way down to essentially the bottom where the hood would be, which is a nice look. If anything, that would be how I would display the figure. What you can also do too is, going back to where we started from, take the head back out, which is a little more difficult than putting the head in. Put the hood to the side. You can also take this off completely as well. Should you decide you don't want to have Felonius displayed with that, you can just leave it off in its entirety. And then we just move the ball joint back over. There we go. And pop it back into the head, or into the neck socket. And you have something that looks like that. Some of the other accessories that he comes included with, let's talk about some of the things that he can hold on his belt. Well, for starters, he comes with a dagger, a very broad, large dagger. It can either fit into his hand, pry the fingers away just slightly. Dagger fits into his hand, or what you can also do too is take the dagger out, and it fits in that little loop in the back. It's a snug fit, yes, but it does fit into place. He's got a hole in his back. The Conqueror also had the hole in his back, but doesn't seem to come with any accessory that would cater itself to that. It's probably just the same torso that they're using for a lot of their figures, and there's probably figures that are already making use of that hole in the back. Talking about another hole, though, he's got a hole right here, so he does come with a spell book. And though it can't be made out, it's got some scripture on the inside. Some nice detailing on the outside. This would be ideal for him to hold. Now, say for example, you want to have a book that he can carry. Well, he's also got this book too. This one's closed. It does not have the means to be opened. It's got some really cool details there. Front of it reminds me of the Never-Ending Story. Not quite the same logo, but very similar. I also like that the pages look like they've been darkened, so that it looks like the pages are separate from one another. Almost as if you could open the book, you simply can't though. And there's this peg on the bottom here, non-intrusive, so it doesn't look like it's like the peg's not on the back of the book, so you can still have him holding it. Or what you can do is take the peg, and the peg fits into that little hole. Now, this is more of a struggle to get it into that hole, as it doesn't seem like it wants to initially fit. You have to kind of work your way in, getting that lined up. It's not, again, the most easiest of things to connect, but he does have what seems to be the means to hold the book. I don't know if that's the implied placement for it, but it seemed, based on the peg and based on the hole, that the book would attach to the back like so. Let's talk about some of his other accessories. He has a lone traveler traveling with him, 2 lone travelers. He comes with a little mouse. I don't know if that would be a mouse or a rat. I'm going to assume that's a mouse. It does come with that, and that could, if you have properly the right hand in place, you could put his little mouse in his hand like so. Maybe he talks to it. Maybe the mouse gives him advice. I don't know. You have him holding it like that. Then let's talk about, he's got a couple of these little elixir bottles, spells and whatnot. He comes with a slightly clear one and more of a kind of reddish one. Doesn't really have anything on his belt in the way to hold it, so unless you have it in his hand, there's really no place where you can display it on him. Comes also with, what would you call this? A scepter? Or a staff, which has some really neat detailing on the top. Looks like it could be a griffin, could be a dragon. I'm leaning more towards dragon. Nice sculpt, nice paint with the silver, the additional green on the interior there. And it's got silver on the tip as well. Now that could very easily fit into his hand, which at the beginning of this review, that's what I had him displayed with. I like it personally with I would say scepter. I don't know if I'm right by that, but I would say scepter. I'm going to put that's the method of display that I might go with. What you can also do too is he comes with a ton of interchangeable hands. Now, when you get him out of packaging, he comes with basically a partially open grabbing hand. He gets a couple of variations of those, and then he gets a couple of these, or 2 of these, fanned out hands. One I've already gone ahead and taken the liberty of putting it into the socket, but he does have the other one as well. And then he comes with this neat fire cast, this fireball that he can hold in his hand. Initially, I didn't know quite how it lined up. What you have to do, let's see if this is the right hand here. Yeah, it's this hand here. There's a little hole on the underside that fits his finger. And then, if you see it here, there's a slot just next to that hole where it fits over top of the finger. And you just line it up into place. And it fits right over the hand. Now let's actually see if it's this hand. It's one of these hands. Line it up. It might actually even be this hand here. Line that up. Yeah, I think it's actually this hand here, because there's this little notch right there. So it fits over the whole of his one finger and then lines itself up with the notch of the flame. It's not the easiest thing to do, but once you get it in place, just double checking once again, double checking my work. It does fit into his hand. Not the easiest, but it does give you a neat looking effect when you have him displayed with it. It sits a little on the lopsided, a little loose side. I felt as if I had got it a little bit more secure before, which makes me keep thinking it's this hand here. Again, line up the whole. Maybe it was actually the other hand, but it does sit a little on the loose side. I wish there was a better way to secure fit it, but that's unfortunately the way it pegs itself into place. Then running through this guy's posability. Now he has just as much posability as the one that we had just previously looked at. In fact, let's go ahead and get his foot on the pegs. Get him back on the display stand. It's just before we look at his posability. Just want to do a little bit of comparisons and sizes, just in case you guys are wondering how tall he is. Get him on his peg. There we go. There he is on his display base, and reaching off camera to the Conqueror that we looked for. You can see that they're roughly about the same height. The Orc is just a hair bit taller, which is somewhat ironic for me to be saying that because he's bald. But he looks like he's just a little bit taller, maybe about this, roughly about the same sort of height. They look like they are using eventually the same bodies. Obviously the lower half, the boots are slightly different, the lower leg are slightly different. But I think what it is it's this extra piece is sculpted at the bottom here. I think the legs, let me just move this out of the way here. Just line them up. Yeah, the legs are the exact same. In fact, this area here is left the same color as the leg on Felonius. And here on the Orc, they've gone ahead and painted it brown. So they are making use of the same bodies in some regards, which would make sense because it would be cost saving for them to use the same molds. Would make much sense to cast brand new molds for brand new figures. Let's run through his posability though. His head is on a ball joint, so it rotates all the way around. Despite the fact that he's got the robe, the arms still hinge outward and forward and back. He's got a really nice bend in the elbow. I'm just going to roll up the sleeve here. I guess I really don't need to roll up the sleeve because it's going to be the exact same hinge as the Orc that we already looked at. It's got a universal joint on the hands, upper torso ball joint. Let's go ahead and take him off the stand because he's not going to be able to show you the articulation on the leg. Leg hinges outward, forward, back. Does have a double hinge on the knee. And he's also got a hinge and a rotation all the way around on the foot here. I really like the design of this guy. Face sculpt's good. I probably will end up displaying him more so with the hood, because I think the hood is a nice touch. If I flip it the right way, there we go. But a really neat looking figure here with Felonius. Felonius, the Wandering Mage from the Vitruvian H.A.C.K.S Series 2, turned out to be a pretty fun figure. And one thing that I really like, and I think is a testament to this particular toy line, is the way that you can mix and match and really come up with your own designs for characters. With also the ton of different accessories that they come included with, there's really a lot of different ways that you can display the figure. Ultimately, I've got him holding one of his spell books, and I've managed to successfully get the flame ball into his hand, which I found actually worked better not trying to put it into his pointer finger, but rather his second finger instead. And I think it gives you a really neat optical illusion as if he's actually got the ball of fire levitating in his hand. got a good design sculpt to him, got good paint application. Overall, again, a really neat looking figure. If you're looking to pick up both Felonius, the Wandering Mage, or if you're looking to pick up Orc the Conqueror, I'll put the link down below to Boss Fight Studios. The price point on the Vitruvian hacks are $24.99 per figure. And Boss Fight Studios are also responsible for bringing back Bucky O'Hare. Yes, Bucky O'Hare. We're going to be looking at one of the Bucky O'Hare figures in the future video, so stay tuned for that. But if you haven't had a chance to hit that little subscribe button down below, make sure you do so, as again, many videos are going to be coming your way, including the Bucky O'Hare figure. And I'm really looking forward to doing that one, because that's the one that really caught my eye when it came to the Boss Fight Studios. Really excited to have a look at that one. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. Thanks for commenting down below. I always like reading new comments, and I'll see you guys next time.